And I think the best place to start is I just wanted one poll question. So I will launch that now. And I'm very curious to see what you guys think. So who has heard of Internships in the Valley before? We are currently going into our second edition. So we have made a bunch of changes. So I just want to gauge our audience of how much we need to explain, and who has also like perception of who we were last year. I think 87% has replied. So we stand at 82% has never heard of us before, which is amazing. That means our outreach has properly worked, which is really exciting. And then for those that have heard from us last year, welcome back. I hope we can also share some new information with you as well. Perfect. So 81%, brand newbies, exciting. All right, so with that, I'll end the poll and I will share results so everyone else can see. And and now I will share my screen and we can get going because we do have quite a packed schedule as well. So. All right, so Internships in the Valley, let's go. So today's agenda is busy. We've got a good kickoff. So I'm going to give a bit of an introduction of the program, and then we're going to give an overview of the Holland in the Valley Fellows. So these are students that we've placed last year, and are currently a few of them already in the Bay Area. And the next, we're going to give you obviously an outline of the eligibility criteria and the application form itself. And then I'm going to hand over the mic to Maggie from the Netherlands American Foundation. She's already introduced herself, and Marcella to explain a bit more about the Dutch to USA scholarship. Then we have a second part. So as I said, it was like an info and Q&A session. So then we'll go over to the Q&A part. And we have a bunch of pre-submitted questions from you guys. So we'll answer those. And then right at the end, head over to some live questions. So let's start. So a brief housekeeping. So this is a webinar. So if you have any questions, please put in the chat in the Q&A section. And Aoife and all the panelists can help potentially answer those. If not, then we'll kind of address it at the end. If you do have a question towards the live section at the end for the live questions, then just please raise your hand. I can then help unmute you if there is something that's just easier to be explained, not in written text because it's faster. As you know, this has been recorded, so we will be sharing this at the end. And please do interact, ask questions. This is the opportunity for you to understand about our program and learn a bit more. So Then, so who are we? So we are a program that connects master's and PhD students that study at Dutch Research University with paid internships at companies in the US. While just a very quick highlight of all the elements that make us us, so what makes us unique, we offer we provide a platform where students can find internships with very flexible start dates and durations. So we're talking about the whole of next year. We also provide internships anywhere in the US. So if you would like to find an internship anywhere, we can help you with that. Next, we only affiliate with companies that offer paid internships, specifically in the Bay Area. It has to be a minimum of $3,000 a month. And one of the crowning jewels of our program is that we can support you with the J1 visa application. And when you are in the US, we can then help you with network opportunities, and you kind of join the Holland in the Valley Fellow Network community. And additionally to that, our visa partner, the NAF, does also offer scholarships. And that's what Maggie and Marcelo will also explain a bit later to you. So that, in a nutshell, is us. So if I've lost your attention later on, just remember all these points kind of gives you a good idea of who and what we are. So then I will hand over now to actually explain kind of our triple helix formation. I'll hand over the mic to Deborah.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. So Internships in the Valley is quite an interesting experiment as we are a public-private partnership according to the Dutch triple helix model. A lot of difficult words. What does that mean? That there is both public money and support flowing into the program on behalf of, in this case, the Consulate of the Netherlands in San Francisco, and also private support from both the industry, and then we're looking at companies in San Francisco. We're looking at members of our talent committee that are part of the industry, that help with placements, help with business development leads. And then, of course, the third big, and probably biggest branch of the program is the Dutch universities in the Netherlands. And there we collaborate both with the Universities of the Netherlands Association and then also with the 13 research universities in the Netherlands. So in other words, if you are currently studying or recently graduated from one of the 13 research universities in the Netherlands, you could qualify for the program. If you're not part of those, then unfortunately, this program won't be the best match for you right now. The 13 universities, so you should see your logo in between here. We have Delft, we have Wageningen, we have Radboud, we have Rotterdam, we have Utrecht, Eindhoven, Tilburg, de VU, de UvA, Groningen, Maastricht, Twente, and Leiden. And this year we've had quite a good distribution amongst the candidates that we've placed, have been representing a lot of these universities. And I must say also, all of these universities are definitely also being recognized in the US. So we always get a lot of good response from local stakeholders. Now, what do we offer our program in itself? We really support you from start to finish with your internship search, with your contract negotiations, and with your visa application. So the way we do this is we have launched an academy platform that provides you with tools and tricks on how to find an internship yourself in the US. We might also make direct introductions for you with particular companies. Those are more profile driven and demand driven on the end of the companies. And then we look within our pool of candidates who might be a good fit. And then once you have negotiated with a company that you can start and you receive a contract letter from them, then we're happy to read that over for you and also make sure that legally you're all good to go. And then the last part of it all is, of course, the visa application. And for that, we partner with the Netherlands America Foundation, and Maggie will explain you the ins and outs of that in a second. That is basically what I just explained is the support that we offer for you. What do we offer more broadly? We offer our entire network of companies in the US, state-of-the-art and top-notch talent from within the Netherlands, and from within the Netherlands, both being Dutch students and also international students at Dutch research universities. We have a lot of companies that have expressed their interest in working with us and that have been working with us in the past and this year. Most recently, we're very excited to also include Uber as well as one of our most recent partners. And we source these companies through the Holland in the Valley network. There's also a LinkedIn group, so make sure to check that one out, but also through other networks in the US. With regard to the visa support, we help you both with pre-departure preparations, and we also look over the fact that you've completed all steps so that you're all good to go. Because don't forget, in order to do an internship in the US, you have to be work authorized. You have to have the right paperwork in place. And then lastly, we also offer local networking opportunities. So throughout your time in the US, you will be able to join networking events, both organized by the consulate in San Francisco, where I'm based, but also should you decide to do your internship, let's say in Boston or in New York, Then we also have representation there. And in fact, 2 of our students this year are already placed in Boston and already are in close touch with our representation and events there.
Thank you very much, Deborah, for highlighting all the elements of what make us us. Then I'm going to hand over the mic to Eva, who will kind of present to you some of the past candidates that we've placed in our previous edition.
Yeah, we would like to share some faces of students that went before you. They applied to our last year's program, and about half of these students found an internship themselves, and the other students were matched by us with one of our partners. So we hope you see this slide as to realize that it's actually possible when you do the outreach, when you put in the effort and follow our academy program step by step. We're pretty certain that many of you can actually find an internship in the US. And there's a wide range of companies that these students intern at. There's some skill ups, some more established corporates like Applied Materials and Skillsoft. 2 students are interning in Boston, and the others are on the West Coast. But from next year, we're open to the internships in the whole of the US. And we're also very happy that Marcella is here today. She hasn't started her internship yet, but she has already signed her offer letter and has gotten a scholarship through the Netherlands America Foundation. And she'll talk a bit more about that process later.
Yeah, and just to kind of explain, so the green halo is kind of ones that have already started, and the others that don't have anything behind them are the ones that will be starting either later this year still or early next year. Yeah, so now let's get to the nitty-gritty part. So the eligibility and application documents that are required. So eligibility, I hope everyone's aware at this point now, is that you need to be a master's or PhD student that's currently enrolled at one of the Dutch research universities that Deborah highlighted, or you have recently graduated, so less than a year ago. The reason why we have the stipulation of less than a year ago is because in order to receive your J1 visa application, that's one of the very strict requirements that you must have your start date of your internship has to be within 1 year of graduation. Then we have a minimum GPA requirement of 7 and a professional English language skill requirement. There you don't have to submit any certificates, but we, with your application, we can gauge with your CV, and your short answer questions, we can gauge your English skill ability. Then the application documents required. So 3 parts, so slightly simpler than last year for those that are familiar with that from our previous edition. So this year, you are only required to submit your resume and your transcript of records. Your transcript of records also don't have to be official. They, we just need to see that your GPA requirement holds of minimum 7. And last but not least at all, it's one of the most important parts of the application is to submit your LinkedIn profile link. That'll give us a very quick gauge of whether you are suitable for the program. Then, so where do I sign up? If you have not signed up already, so we have a 2-part application form. It's all kind of very tailored and should just flow in one. The first kind of, it checks with you whether you're actually eligible, and the second part is the actual application form. Things to be aware of is before you start your application, just have all your documents ready. And it does save them in your browser, but you do obviously have to accept all the cookies and all the whatnots for that. And it's only available locally on your browser for 15 days. So if you do want to apply, you can go through them, through all the questions and take note of them on the side. But yeah, and then press send. We've had, I think it's nice to share, we've had about over 100 applicants so far, with a lot of people starting the first part of the application form, so that being the eligibility check. We've had about 500 people check, so that's really exciting. It's also just a reminder that if you have only completed the first part and maybe we're waiting for this webinar until you press send, yeah, please do submit before the deadline, because we're already starting to look at a few applicants already. And now I will hand over the mic to Maggie, who will explain a bit more about the NAF and the Dutch to USA scholarship that the NAF provides.
Thank you, Michelle and team. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to share more about the Netherlands America Foundation. So just to give you a quick overview of what we do, we are the premier organization focused on maintaining and strengthening relations between the US and the Netherlands. In that capacity, Holland and the Valley is a partner of ours. We were founded over 100 years ago by some prominent business and political leaders. FDR was one of them. So we're really proud of our long history that we've been able to maintain, and we're mainly focused on business, cultural, educational, and internship exchange. So a lot has changed in the 100 years that we've been active, but over the past 5 years in particular, we have gotten more into internship exchange. So that is where the NAF Dutch to USA internships comes in. So this really is a program meant for low-income students. The founder of the program, he grew up in poverty. He felt very strongly that he succeeded in life, but then he found very strongly that people like him should be given the same opportunities that he was able to create in his life. So it's based on the idea of breaking through economic barriers. So when we say scholarship, we're really looking at people with a low income background. We award grants to high achieving low income students at Dutch universities, and this is solely for the purpose of interning in the United States. So I'll tell you a bit more about what this award entails, but it covers living expenses, health insurance, and a visa at no direct cost to the student or host company. Okay. So some of these eligibility requirements are similar to what the Internships in the Valley program provides. For example, your grade average, but there are a few that specifically make this program unique, and so I'd like to go over them. So as I mentioned, it is for low-income students. So the first part is, neither you nor your parents have the means to afford an internship in the US. We ask you to provide proof of receiving aanvullende beurs in your application. This shows us that, what your income status is without asking you too many questions about that. But for those who are PhD students and may not be eligible for this, you will be asked to submit additional proof that you are from a low-income background. This could be your parents' salary deposits or their tax return forms from the previous 3 years. It could also be something else that we haven't taken into account. So if you're interested in applying, you're low income, please just provide forms that would show this to us so we can really do our due diligence in vetting. The second requirement is you have either secured an internship or you're in the process of applying for an internship. I think that's why we're all here today. And the third is that you are either a Dutch citizen or you have permanent residency in the Netherlands, or you have attended at least 2 years of high school in the Netherlands. And if neither of those apply to you, we would like proof that you are a permanent resident, or you have plans to become a permanent resident or citizen. Since it is Dutch to USA, we want people with strong ties to both the Netherlands and the US and are passionate about these Dutch-American relations. So this is a QR code of the application. We accept them on a rolling basis. You will be asked to provide generally details about yourself, such as university and age, a personal statement, a financial statement, just describing a bit more about your background. Again, proof of aanvullende beurs, a budget for an internship in the US. This can be an estimate, but we want applications from people who really are serious about something and who are researching what the cost of living is like in the US, so you have no surprises when you get here. We ask for your CV and your grades list as well. So this first part, once we receive your application, we go through a more objective look at it to see really if you're eligible. And from there, the people who go to the next round will be interviewed by a selection committee. It takes about 20 minutes. The selection committee is based in the Netherlands. So it's not too intense of an interview, but it is just to show that, you are the person that is applying for this and you match what is written on the paper. So the results take about 2 weeks after the interview takes place. So, again, this is a rolling basis. We accept them from now through question mark. So you're able to apply. And on the next slide, actually, Michelle, if you can go, I think it's there. My email is below. So please feel free to email me if you have any questions about applications. So the award package is mainly to cover your cost of living while in the US. This can be up to $1,200 per month for a 6-month internship. We also provide the cost of a J1 visa for up to 6 months. And this process is also facilitated by us. So no matter if you are in Internships in the Valley or Internships in the Valley and Dutch to USA, I will most likely be the person helping you secure your visa and explaining all of the many questions that come with it. There are quite a bit. So I'll be there to help you with that. The visa includes the cost of health insurance as required by the US government, so you don't have to worry about that. And then there's pre-departure and in-country support from myself at the NAF, as well as the rest of the staff here, and CIE, who is the official visa sponsor as designated by the US government. And of course, whenever you're, part of the NAF in any capacity, or whether you're just interested in us as an organization, you always have opportunities to network with us when possible. We have chapters all across the US, including in Northern California, and we have a chapter in the Netherlands. So, we have events a few times per year, happy hours and networking events every now and then. So truly anyone is welcome to those if you are passionate about this and would like to connect.
Thank you, Maggie. I'd just like to ask a few questions to Marcella. I was wondering, Marcella, could you share a little bit with our viewers what it was like for you to apply for the Dutch to USA scholarship, and also share a bit about the internships that you will be fulfilling?
Yes. Well, my case is a little bit different, because when I applied for the program, of course, I had this idea that I would receive a paid internship. However, I wanted to go to a university, a laboratory in the UCSF. So this was not a company per se. So it wasn't the support to do the internship wasn't, let's say, included. So then I started looking for scholarships, grants. I applied for the NAP, and well, I think it was the whole process. It was really easy to do the application. All the documents easy to gather and to submit, no problems. And then after receiving the approval of the documents, I got the interview. So yeah, which was also without any issues at all. It was nice to know the people behind the program, and well, happily I got it.
And what will you be doing, Marcella? We connected you with Rose Lab.
Yes, so I'm a student of Utrecht University from the Regenerative Medicine and Technology Master. So I wanted to learn about organoids. I'm going to visit this lab, Rose Lab, in the UCSF, to work with organoids to make to create an in vitro model for study leukemia diseases. So I will be learning about all these techniques in the lab.
Great. Yeah, we're very happy that we could make this connection for you, and that you found such a great match with the Rose Lab. And I also wanted to say I was typing away answers in the chat, but lots of the questions will probably also be addressed in the next session of this info session. And if they're not, I will be typing later more answers to you or get back to you via email.
Great, yeah. Thank you so much, Maggie and Marcella, for kind of highlighting the NAF and what they offer, and then also the Dutch to USA scholarship that you have now, Marcella. Yeah, so now we are transitioning to the second part of this webinar. So that's the Q&A session, So without further ado, I think we'll start, and Eva will answer the first question.
Yes, the question is, can I write my thesis during my internship, or can I take my internship as part of my curriculum? The answer is yes, you could, but in the US, often interns are perceived as full-time staff members. But it could very well be that if they're focusing on your topic of interest, that there is a possibility to do your research there. So it will largely depend on your thesis supervisor and on the relationship you have with the company. And this agreement needs to be made before you sign your offer letter. Yeah.
Great. Next question is, I already hold a US citizenship or have a US green card. Can I apply? Yes, most certainly. This program does not discriminate in terms of if you're Dutch, if you're international, if you're from the US. The only requirement we have is that, you need to be currently at one of the universities or have recently graduated from one of them.
Yeah. Yes.
Next question.
So to add to that, indeed, international students can apply, Dutch students can apply. There's no difference for our program. Will there be any visa difficulties? I would like to give the word to Maggie, who knows more about that.
So yes, non-EU students studying at a Dutch university can participate in the Dutch to USA program, the grant. For us, we do want that strong Dutch connection. So in terms of visa difficulties, personally, I haven't, I've done this for help students for about a year, and I haven't seen any issues. There have been people from different citizenships applying, and there have not been any issues. I think it is a case-by-case question, so I can also include my email in the chat as well, if you have that. But it's kind of separate, and I think there is a little confusion. I'm looking at the questions too and answering some of them. The Dutch to USA is separate from Internships in the Valley. Dutch to USA is, funding. It's for low income. Internships in the Valley is a bit different. That's kind of the reason for this. But we do have some more specific requirements that may have made this a bit confusing. And I'm also happy to send out additional slides to you guys to send to everyone on this call. I hope I've been clear.
Yeah. So we are Internships in the Valley, and I outlined the eligibility requirements. Those are the only ones. If you would like additional funding, this is one of the scholarship programs that we offer through our visa partner, which is the NAF, and that's how Maggie kind of slots in. So if that explains any confusion or helps out with that. And so, yeah, exactly. So it's the eligibility requirements just to enter Internships in the Valley. That's totally separate to the applying to the scholarship later. So the next question is, so I have an average GPA of 6.5. Can I still apply? So yes, you can apply, but you will have to provide a letter of motivation to us beforehand by email if you believe that you can still be part of the program and think you are worthy of. While I'm here, topic of GPA, I saw a couple of questions pop up. So if you have just started your master's and we ask for a GPA requirement, but you have either no credits or no course marks available yet, or very few, for the GPA requirement, you need to submit both your bachelor's and master's transcripts, even if your master's one is blank, but your bachelor's is totally fine in terms of the GPA requirement. Submit that. I think that kind of answers a few of those questions pop up.
I think that's the
okay, cool. Yeah, then we're ready into the next one. So yes, you can still apply even if you don't have, but provide a blank one so that we can even see your coursework. I think the more information we have, the better when you apply. So I'm a bachelor student. Can I apply? We are strictly a program that is tailored only for master students and PhD students. So we encourage you to we hope that you continue your studies after your bachelor's program. So yeah, stay in the loop with us, follow our newsletter, and then once you have started your master's degree, then yeah, do apply for us for our program. I don't know if Eva, if you want to add anything, always feel free.
No, I think that's good.
The next question.
Yes, I'll answer this. Are there places for sustainability, social sciences, law? We got a lot of examples of study fields that you're curious if you could also do an internship in the US. The answer is yes, theoretically for sure, especially since now our program is expanded to the whole of the US. But in some fields, it could be a bit more difficult because also for the J1 visa, the internship should be in the fields of your studies. And in some fields like psychology, for example, for the J1 visa, you're not approved to provide any care. And for law, there will be in some parts, there will be in the US different jurisdiction and other regulations. So it might be just more of a challenge, but probably not impossible. So you're very welcome. It might be more challenging for you than typical tech students, but yeah, if you think there's opportunities for you in the US, we are the right program to go to.
Great. And the next question is, so how long should a suitable candidate be available to do the internship? So we help you connect with companies, but we are mainly tailored to kind of coaching you to find an internship yourself. In that end, it's very much when you want to go is when you try to find a position. For this cohort, we are tailored for students that want to find an internship for the entirety of 2023 or even the beginning of 2024. So if that's the space that you want to try to find an internship in the US, because it must be said, like you need to plan quite a bit further for finding an internship in the States, just because of the bureaucracy and the visa procedures and interviews. It's all the things required for it. So, but if you,
Marcella, you applied in 2021, right? And then it took a long time, and then you were matched, and then now it takes a long time with your visa procedure. So you are extending even into 2023. So this could also happen for people applying for this round.
Yeah. So it's entirely up to you, and essentially the ball's in your court. If you can find an internship, whenever we accommodate for you for that. But yeah, it's for the whole of next year. I think that's kind of the short answer.
Can extend into 2024. That's no problem. Yeah. Yes, as we just said, we were in our previous editions focused on the West Coast, mostly the Bay Area, and this is where we have most of our company relations because of our partnership with the consulate in San Francisco. But for this program, we are open to internships in the whole of the US. So on the East Coast, West Coast, and everything in between. Yeah, and we'll guide you with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the next question is, do I get paid? Yes, so we only affiliate ultimately with companies that provide paid internships. There is a minimum requirement. So traditionally, because we're most experienced in the Silicon Valley area, we've set a minimum requirement to $3,000 a month. So that's supposed to cover all your living expenses. And now that we've branched out to being US-wide, that minimum requirement might shift a little bit, but the sentiment stays the same of it needs to provide you with minimal living expenses, and it needs to be a livable internship experience for sure, and some. So we do kind of vet with that for companies.
Yeah. Can we start as soon as possible, like February 2023? And what will be the time frame for summer internships, and how fast is a visa application? Yeah, so these got to do with each other. February 2023 will be too early to start because the visa application takes up to be safe, let's say 2.5 months. There are waiting times for a meeting at the embassy, and because of staff shortages, this takes long. But will likely, and some bigger companies will have a deadline that closes quite soon for summer internships, but also other companies will be open until April to accept applications for summer internships. And those will be usually between 8 to 12 weeks long during the months of June, July, and August. But there's also plenty of opportunities for fall internships. So yeah, I think I've answered the questions there. Yeah.
Perfect. So then the next one is, how can I integrate the internship with my PhD program and work/research? Yeah, so we do tailor for PhD candidates, which is really cool. So it's up to you. Obviously, the relationship when you are busy with a PhD is very much dependent on what you and your supervisor agree on. So how you integrate it is you have a discussion with your supervisor, see if it's possible. It will be on a case-by-case basis just because every PhD situation is so unique. So we have placed a candidate this year who's a PhD candidate, and his kind of advice to any following PhD students is, one, have a conversation with your supervisor, and two is depending on the length. So if it's shorter, it doesn't necessarily have to integrate very well with your project because it can be a bit of like a break and you can maybe extend your PhD. But later, if it's going to be 6 months up to a year, then it definitely has to be part of your project, and it has to probably be part of publication as well. So it's something to think about if you're a PhD student and applying for this program or applying for an internship in general.
Yes, this will most likely be questioned by PhD students as well. And yes, we do hope to offer a bridge from academia to businesses with our program. And we do see interest for that by American companies. So we highly encourage PhD students to apply if you're interested in a work experience outside of academia.
The next is, are only internships valid for this opportunity, or also fellowships and job positions? So when you are accepted through our program and you've started our academy to help you and coach you how to find an internship, you will then start your search of finding an internship in the great abyss that is the US-wide internet. We look for internships. That's the long story short. We won't accommodate you for fellowships or job positions. We do kind of say that if you are interested in a company and they have a job posting available, that's obviously a good sign that they're taking on people. But then maybe ask them saying, I see this job position, the startup job position for like a junior position. Is there a internship opportunity that's tailored to that? But yeah, this is something that will go on later once you've been accepted into our program. But yeah, standardly, we only, this opportunity is only valid for internship positions.
The question is, if we have to look for internships on our own, is there any help provided for exploring what kind of companies are out there? Well, that's a very nice question, because that's exactly what our new program will do. We provide you with all the materials, resources, and a step-by-step guidance to narrow down on what type of companies in the US are there for you, and then also step-by-step, like how you should approach them and what you should do to get that internship that you want. So if you're willing to do the work and are curious to learn more about how to find an internship in the US, then you should definitely apply.
Right, yeah, and then so any advice for the essays? So the essays refer to the short answer questions in the application form. So how my preferences influence the outcome of my application. So I think this is referring to, so in the application, you have 2 optional questions to answer. So essentially there, we want you to just shine. We want to get to know you. We want to understand how you work, what motivates you, what drives you. And depending on what question you select for that, select one that you can best illustrate that. So then in that sense, there's no wrong answer. There's no worse or better or worse question to choose.
Someone was curious how many spots and opportunities we offer, how many we apply, and how many get selected. Well, from next year, we don't do just matching anymore. So it will depend largely on the motivation of the accepted candidates, how many interns how many of you will actually find an internship. Like I said, with the previous batch of like the 11 previous candidates that have found an internship, it's been 50-50. So we do see, we keep on our matching, but on the other hand, we see that it works very well for students. They know exactly what their niche is, what type of companies are there for them out there. So we can't give a percentage yet because of the new setup, and it's the first edition of it. So we're very curious how that will unfold. But with seeing how many candidates of previous editions have put in the effort, and then seeing how many have succeeded, although some have needed to email like 30 companies, we have good hopes that many of the active participants will actually find an internship in the US.
Yeah, exactly. Then the next is a scholarship provided for interns, or all costs will be at our own expenses? When does the program start? Okay, so a lot to unpack there. So the costs, the visa costs are covered by the company. There will be some costs that you will need to cater for yourself. So that's to get yourself there. So your flight and your living expenses and everything once you're there is your cost. But obviously that's what your monthly salary should cover. Then there are small visa application processes. So for example, the SEBIS fee, so everything involved with interviewing at the consulate, you will have to pay as well. But these are all kind of expenses that we'll also outline later once you're a part of the program. And then, so when does the program itself start? So we have applications are open until the 15th of December. And our academy, where we'll kind of coach you of how to find an internship, that'll be launched on the 15th of January. So you'll have a great Christmas break, and then you'll come back, and then you'll be motivated to find an internship.
Yeah, indeed. And we will get back to you if you're accepted for the, but whether you're accepted for the academy, we'll let you know before the Christmas holidays. Yeah. And Michelle already explained that the deadline to apply is 15 December.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so will this recording of the session will be available? Yes, we will make it available to everyone that signed up we'll put it on our socials.
And then there was a nice question of somebody that asked, what's the biggest lesson interns have learned during their internship? And for this question, I would like to invite you all for the next webinar on 1 December. That's a very different one than this, compared to this, because this one was more interactive. Yeah. We'll also get into all the questions you've submitted in the chat now. But at this webinar next week, there's a lot of experiences shared by a host company, by an intern, by the chief of staff of Asana, Carmen Pop, our talent committee member. Maggie will be there again for those who haven't joined to also share again a bit more about what our collaboration with the NAF involves. So yeah, we hope to see you all there, so you can learn more from what it's like to be an intern in the US firsthand. And I think now we could still maybe go into some of the questions in the chat, Michelle. Maybe you could answer from my mouth, and then I could type away from the bottom.
Sure. So I will start from the top as it's like. So yeah, so from Ellen. So I know Aphis is typing your answer, but I'll just answer it. So if you're a dual citizen with the US, would that affect your eligibility for applying? Not at all. It actually simplifies the whole procedure because you won't have to go through the J1 visa application. It also means that if you are looking for an internship, then your timeline is slightly shorter because you obviously don't have the J1 visa wait. Next question. So do we need to submit transcripts of our master's degree only, or also of previous degrees like bachelor's? Yeah, I've actually already answered that. So in the application form, we want an overview of your GPA. And that will involve both submitting both your bachelor's and master's. It also gives us a bit of a background of what you've studied, because like I said, like Ava's mentioned before, so we don't only match students this time, so we mainly cater of coaching you and helping you and providing J1 visa support to a larger pool of students, but we do still have some company connections from our previous year, and obviously are still expanding on that branch of our program. So it's always useful to us to have as much information about you as possible, and that's one of the transcript provides us that. All right, then I will say that's answered. Then if you don't have any grades, that's fine. Yeah, this is good, from Quinn. What would make a LinkedIn profile eligible and what not? Yeah, that's a bit of a great question to answer, but I think if you have filled it out, if you have your background, your university degrees, all the work experience highlighted, if you have a quick description of yourself, you obviously have your photos are present, you have some LinkedIn presence, that will all play part of just your impression. But on like the background of like how we approach who will let into the program or not. So we want to tailor for as many students as possible. So we want everyone to have access to the Academy platform, but obviously we want to keep up a certain standard. And but the threshold is it's not as strict as last year if you have any experience from that. But we do want to see that you will be able to find an internship, and that our time is also not wasted, and you will be motivated inherently to find an internship yourself. So I hope that helps answer your question, Quinn. Can the resume exceed 1 page? Well, we strongly recommend it doesn't, because the resume in the US is very strictly 1 page and has a few other requirements to it as well, which we'll explain and coach you more in the Academy. So yeah, we strongly encourage against, let's just say it that way. Is it possible to apply as a current pre-master's student? Yes, I think in those cases, email us so that we figure out your situation in more detail. Yeah, please do email us. It should, in theory, be fine, because you are on track to being a master's student, and you will be a master's student likely next year, and by the time you start an internship. So yeah, I wonder, so to just send us an email and we can tackle it from there. All right. Next, so okay, so I think the master's confusion in terms of GPA has been covered, so just submit as much as you can, and then we can always ask you for more of the GPA questions later. Then Emma asks, are the companies mostly focused on science students, or are there also opportunities for social science and legal students? So Ava did actually really touch on that. So it's obviously dependent on which area in the US you go. For example, if you want to find an internship in New York, then yeah, then there is space for legal students potentially, obviously depending on what field you're in. But if, for example, if you want to go to the Bay Area, it is very science heavy. So it's very much up to you if you find a place. Now that we can help you find an internship that is US wide, we won't be as science focused as we were in the past. I see a raise of hand, and I don't know. Wait, just give me a second. Feel like it was Arman or someone. If you raise your hand again, I can potentially, if you want to ask a question, then I can unmute you. But yeah, there's a lot going on in terms of hosting in the back end. Okay, I will carry on. So Nathan asks, so wow, that's a lot. How many people will you accept in total? We will admit a lot of people into our Academy program. So we will kind of rank you in the back end of like how likely we are to promote you to potential companies that we affiliate with, and that is upon our discretion. But I think a lot of people will have access to the Academy program. So in that sense, it won't be as elitist, certainly as it was last year. So yeah, so the slides state that internships will suggest to companies as we see fit. So Renz, I hope I've answered that question as well. So it's depending on your application, and it also depends on your profile in general. If we have a company that is very much looking for a specific profile, so for example, we had a company last year that was very much looking just for candidates with fermentation experience. And we filter for that and then see if you're eligible, and then your application won't matter as much, because when opportunities arise, we will then still promote you. I don't know, Eva, how's it going with all answering the questions?
It's never ending stream.
Yeah, okay. Right. I will carry on.
Yeah, until the end of the session, so 6 more minutes. You can just like power away them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Perfect. I will carry on through the list, and I will say we will record all of these Q&A questions and create a document, share that on the website, share that on our newsletter, so that if it has remained unanswered, we can still get back to you. So yeah, I think some of these questions have already been answered, but I think it's worth, wait, I think I can see. Okay, Marin, if you'd like to ask a question, you've raised your hand, I'm allowing you to talk. So if you would like to ask a question.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for this meeting and your attention. And I would like to ask if apart two things. Like the first is if I can get connected to any area that I'm interested, to any company in the area I'm interested in, or like there are a lot of areas, or just a limited options of companies that you guys have agreements or partnerships with. And my second question is that if you have, like, you charge anything or any price or any fee for the to do the connection between me and the companies.
Yeah, I will start with the second part because it's a bit more straightforward. So we don't ask for any fee to the students at all. So that connection is totally based. This is what our program's also set to offer. And in terms of like our profile of companies, it's a difficult one to answer because Internships in the Valley falls part of a greater program called Holland in the Valley. And that's why Deborah is also involved, Deborah van der Brande, so the senior policy officer at the consulate. That's how she kind of also fits in. And their network is a lot bigger. And it's a very kind of like flexible, time-dependent, situation-dependent relationship with a lot of companies. So it's also one of the reasons why we don't very clearly advertise which companies we're affiliated with and which ones we don't, because it is kind of fluid in that sense. But there are a lot of different companies that we have been in communication with currently and in the past. So I would encourage you to apply because then you're on our system as well. So then, but as what were we tailoring for, and it's one of the successes that we saw last year with our campaign, is that we saw a lot of success in students applying themselves for internships and then getting a push from us and a bit of motivation and the J1 visa ease through us. So we kind of complement each other very well. And I think that's a lot of success was seen through that. And that's kind of what we are leaning into this year. I hope that answers your question. Yes. Perfect. Then I will carry on. That I've answered live. All right, kind of reading them as I go. When will we know if your application will be accepted after submitting the application? So the first step. Yeah, so it's we've already kind of started looking at our pool of applications, and we will let everyone know shortly before our Academy platform is launched, which is on the 15th of January. So I'm doing a master in chemical engineering. Do you have internships in my field of work? Yes, I mean, sure, we have affiliated with some companies in the past, but my advice is, figure out who you want to, which companies appeal to you, and reach out to them, and we can start the conversation from there. Cool. Can I get a copy of these slides afterwards? Sure, Fleur. I will be publishing both the recording and the slides themselves afterwards. Yeah, do you have any insights? So I've seen a couple of questions. So yeah, if you've already submitted your application, thank you so much. It's really great to have applications in earlier. Particularly also because so I'm currently in the Bay Area, and then Eva will be joining me in about a week's time. So it's really valuable for us to see what our upcoming candidates look like, because we will be going to a few companies. So when to expect a reaction though will only be next year. So that'll be, I would say maybe beginning of January. But it'll be shortly before the application form, the Academy platform opens. So I started my studies in August. Is there another enrollment date for this program around fall, or is there enrollment each year? So we will have 2 enrollment periods. So there will be another one towards April. Eva, correct me if I'm wrong. So you can apply then. So I would suggest just applying now anyway, just because, for example, with Marcella's experience, it takes time sometimes to find an internship. And once you're in our system, you're in our system. So I would encourage just you to apply now. And even if you're only looking for an internship towards the end of next year.
Also type to someone that it doesn't influence your chances if you apply now and get accepted to re-enroll in our program. Yeah,
that's very, very important point. Yeah, it does not disadvantage you at all. Okay, are there any questions, Eva, that you have seen that are particularly important to answer?
I see. There's many. Also, I think lots of them we've already touched on, but we're also past the time, and I don't want to take too much time.
Exactly. That's why I kind of want to round it off now.
Yeah, I think all right. And I think we have these questions.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Back via email.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I see there's one from Marin as well. Is there any online internships? Because I think that's an important point to stress on. So we will only affiliate with companies that offer in-person internships. Specifically, they need to at least 60% of the entire internship has to be in person. They also have a few requirements in terms of the company profile itself that we accept with. So that's together with the J1 visa. So online internships are not an option. Then I think there are a lot of questions. I see also one PhD one, which would be great to touch on, but I think in the interest of time, I will stop there. I also encourage everyone to sign up for our next event, which is on the 1st of December. We have a lot of interesting guest speakers that will be attending this event. It will also give you more of a feel of what it looks like to intern in the US. And we will also be having some, at least one of our speakers will be one of our current candidates that's here in San Francisco. So yeah, please sign up for that. It's the same procedure. You can find it either on our socials or on our website. So yeah, I think then I will end here. Just in general, just a reminder, so we have our deadline on the 15th of December, but encourage you to apply as soon as possible. And yeah, everything else, either email us or check out our website. And Eva, then I think if you have any last words, I will stop sharing.
Just wondering, I would like to attend to all these questions. Do you know if we can?
Yeah. No, so you can download them afterwards after the webinar and we can tackle it from there. So yeah, then I think with that, I will also thank Maggie and Marcella so much for attending. Thank you so much for Marcella sharing your story. I'm really excited for you to eventually kind of arrive here. I think it'll be such a great time. And Maggie, until the next event.
Yep.
The next week?
Yes. See you all next week.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Bye.
Cheers, guys.